فالمحاضرة الجاية لعالم من علماء بريطانيا الأستاذ الدكتور جعفر قراشي، وهو Director of Mental Health Hospital, United Kingdom, Fellow of Royal College of Psychiatrists in London. فليتفضل.
شكرا. Elders, my respected Professor Dr. Abul-Azam, and some of the most august audience that I see Professor sitting, I feel overwhelmed by the response the conference has received. Unfortunately, although my name is Qurashi, but I don't speak Arabic, please forgive me. I think I'm a bad Arab that left for India 300 years ago, then come to London 50 years ago, and I have been practicing psychiatry. And I was very privileged to have met some giants of psychiatry in my time. I trained at Maudsley, Birmingham, and had great privilege of honoring Jamal Abul-Azim and his son, and now his grandson, Muhammad, in London at my institutions. It's an inspiration to come to Egypt, because I believe Egypt, in spite of all that it is going through, has tremendous potential, and we in UK look to Egypt as a beacon of hope in furthering the frontiers of psychiatry. One of my colleagues, Professor Abul-Azim, will know Abdul Javed has been appointed as president of WTA commencing next year, and we in Britain take great pride to have association with Egyptian psychiatry and Egyptian psychiatrists, and I as a person have encouraged many doctors from here to come to UK for higher training, and I'm more than happy to support any youngsters to do research bilaterally within UK and Egypt and in Egypt itself. I am, as you've seen, a senior consultant, graduated from Osmania University, Hyderabad, India, then have been living in UK since 1969. I have achieved what little I could in understanding, and I'm greatly interested in the word psychiatry itself. I believe we are all neuroscientists, and we need to develop a scientific culture. But the government, as we have just discussed, have a great role to encourage scientific thinking in area of mental health. When I started psychiatry in UK, I remember having mental hospitals which were full of 2,000 patients plus. Yes, please.
عايزين ميكروفون تاني ميكروفون تاني عشان احترم.
The 1970s in UK, where I started training psychiatry, I started in almost like a mental asylum. 1,500 patients, no hope for discharge. They were all incarcerated. They were all overwhelmed.
سنة 70 كان بداية تدريبه، كان في مستشفى الأمراض العقلية فيها 500 مريض كلهم حالات مزمنة من سنوات ولا أمل لهم في الخروج.
There was no hope for discharge, there was no community package, there was no community plan. Relations came to dump their family to the patient, and visits will take place, but the mental hospitals were cut off from the city. They were often in suburban areas where access was not easy.
المرضى لا أمل لهم في الخروج، يعيشوا في ظروف سيئة. الأسر حتى لو أنها مهتمة أنها تزورهم، فالمستشفيات دي بتبقى بعيدة عن مكان عن البلد، خارج المناطق خارج المدن، فحتى صعوبة وصول الأهل ليهم زي ما كان بيحصل زمان في مصر.
The era of community psychiatry began when I was training at the Royal College of Psychiatrists, London. There was papers from government under pressure from World Health Organization of which my respected colleague Abul-Azam has been very close with, to ensure a policy that patients admitted have their human rights protected, that also included right to family, they should not be segregated, and the stigma of mental ill health should be removed as soon as practical.
عندما كان يتدرب في رويال كوليدج في زمالة بريطانية بدأت الأمور تتغير. أصبحت منظمة الصحة العالمية تدق ناقوس الخطر وتطالب بعدم يعني وجود الصعوبة في انتقال الأهل ليهم، وأن لازم يبقى فيه خدمة سليمة ليهم. ما ينفعش إن هم يحجزوا داخل المستشفيات، لازم يبقى فيه هناك خدمات مجتمعية المريض لازم يكون مرتبط بعد خروجه بيها.
This was also in 70s and 80s. We saw advent of newer psychopharmacological agents, particularly in neuroleptic, depot injection, and I myself participated in a trial that resulted in the discovery of Rifortil as a major long-term neuroleptic. This was an era where patients were being discharged in the community, but there was no planned discharge plans. Patients were getting better, mental health was receiving attention, government was giving more budget to it, but there was a chasm, there was a gap between hospital-based services and patients going into the community.
في هذا الوقت ابتدأت تظهر أول أدوية للطب النفسي طويلة المفعول، ودي عملت تحسن كبير للمرضى لأن بقى في التزام في المستشفى، والمريض اللي في العيادة الخارجية بياخدها بيتحسن. لكن كان في هناك مشكلة كبيرة لمتابعة هؤلاء المرضى بعد الخروج أو للخدمات اللي ممكن تقدم لهم اللي ممكن إن هم يستمروا في هذا التحسن.
At this time, Royal College of Psychiatrists, of which I am a fellow, started a debate and dialogue between primary care teams and psychiatric services as to how best to care for the patient by creating community mental health team, which is my lecture about.
في هذا الوقت بدأت هناك حديث وتجاذب الضغوط لكي يبدأ العمل الطب النفسي داخل المجتمع لكي يحدث تحسن وطفرة في الخدمات. المريض عندما يكون في المجتمع هناك رعاية كاملة ليه، وبدأت الأمور تتبلور ويحدث تقدم في هذه الخدمات.
As I've already mentioned, mental health services should be administered in community, and or clinical hospital setting was a debate in 70s. This presentation will briefly discuss the nature and origin of community care in UK, its scope, constituents of the team, how they deliver services, and with special reference to treating drug and alcohol abuse.
بدأت المملكة المتحدة تناقش خدمات الصحة النفسية، خاصة الخدمات الصحية المجتمعية، وفي هذا التقديم الذي سوف يقدمه يتحدث عن النقاش اللي حصل ما بين الرعاية الأولية وما بين الخدمات النفسية، وهيتحدث عن كيف يتم إعداد الفريق ومن هو الفريق وطريقة العمل.
Community mental health services refer to a system of care in which the patient's community serves as a primary provider of care for his or her mental illness, as opposed to psychiatric hospital or asylums.
في هذا الوقت كان في تغير كبير في الخدمات. يمكن أضيف حتى أن إيطاليا لغت المستشفيات وبقت كل الخدمة في العيادات الخارجية، فكان التعريف بتاع الرعاية النفسية المجتمعية هو أن المريض يحصل على كل الخدمات بتاعته من خلال الرعاية المجتمعية، وابتدى يبقى في بعد عن فكرة أن يخشوا مستشفيات لتطويرها.
This consists of and catered by supervised supporting housing, day centers, clubhouses, self-help groups or mental health including partial.
محتاج لعلاج من التسمم والانسحاب.
As you can see,
Next.
next.
Just next. Next.
Yeah. These services are consistent with International Convention of Human Rights, something where Dr. Ahmad is well aware of. He mentioned that in his lecture, as they are directly related to priorities of service users, that is the patient. Patient is the center of the services.
كانت الخدمة مبنية عن لائحة حقوق المريض النفسي اللي اتكلمنا عليها بكل ما فيها من حقوق وأساليب للعلاج. ويمكن النهارده لما نخش في أي مستشفى أول ما تخش تلاقي يافطة كبيرة جدا فيها كل الحقوق بتاعته ولازم يوقع ولازم داخل المستشفى يبقى فيه لجنة لحقوق المرضى وهكذا.
Yes. One point I wanted to make here is that the importance of government initiatives in country like Britain, which is much more socialistic orientated, where government has a long vision for caring of mentally ill health, is very important. If the government and its institutions, especially the health service, is strong, then the services they will initiate will be strong. Care and support of the people with mental health problem has witnessed a shift from psychiatric institution into community-based setting. This is known as deinstitutionalization. Something which is happened there, is happening all over the world now.
أيضا ابتدت الحكومة البريطانية ولها اتجاه اجتماعي انها تحط الخطط بتاعتها علشان تقلل من اللجوء الى المستشفيات اللي هي بيسموها دي انستيتيوشناليزيشن، اللي هو البعد ووضع خطط طويله المفعول معقده لكي تتجنب الدخول الى العلاج ويبقى فيه خدمات متكامله كحق من حقوق المريض.
I would very much like to hear at the end of my talk is something similar that is happening in Egypt, has happened in Egypt in the past, because the center of the service was the best care given to patient in community. But it doesn't mean that hospitals were completely abolished, but the number of beds that I had access to when I began training in 1974 was 1,500. But when I left the service to become a private doctor, the number of beds I had access to was only 70. So you can see the difference, how the services. That was initiated by a document in which all the psychiatrists and the mental health teams took part, witnessing a growing emphasis on human rights. British government policies such as care in the community and community care with special reference to mental ill and mentally handicapped people was initiated. It was a dialogue process that lasted 5 years before they reached any conclusions.
استمر النقاش لمدة 5 سنوات عشان يوصلوا مع النقاش المستمر لأفضل تحول. ولما كان الدكتور جعفر قرشي بيشتغل في المستشفى الحكومي كانت 500 سرير، لما ابتدى العمل الخاص بتاعه كانت بقت 70 سرير فقط. ويعني الدولة استمرت في التفكير المستمر علشان أحسن خدمة تقدم، ودي حتى تعتبر بتوفر ماليا.
But we found out that the doctors, the psychiatrists, began to get very apprehensive because they felt they would lose the authority, the power that they had exercised until 70s. Because working in a team, I remember, I'm sorry to say, I'm not like R.D. Lang, an anti-psychiatrist. I see the role of psychiatrists as vitally important. But in Britain, psychiatrists felt that the development of these teams will lead to loss of their power, which is not true. It didn't happen that way. But this was the challenge of the government to convince, like National Health Service in Britain, founded in 1948, was similarly opposed by doctors. Doctors said, in national service, private sector will suffer. So, but the minister at the time said, all the doctors can come on board with the government. We will provide them what is reasonable, but it will be care for everyone. All doctors will benefit, but more importantly, all patients will benefit. But when this happened, I remember there was a big debate with the medical profession and the government as to role of psychiatrist, how will it change when the things happen?
النقاش لما وصل إلى مرحلة إن خفض عدد المستشفيات وإنه تبقى المستشفيات الدور بتاعها أقل، طبعا الأطباء النفسيين بقوا ابتدوا إن هم يبقوا زي بيقاوموا الأفكار دي، لكن لأن هم بعد ما كانوا في مراكز قوة ومسؤولين كل الخدمة ما بقتش الخدمة في إيدهم، وبقى المريض اللي بيروح للطبيب النفسي أقل كتير، لأنه في الرعاية الأولية في مراكز وبعدين الطبيب النفسي. فابتدت الدولة أنها تتعاون معهم وتعمل لقاءات علشان تشوف ازاي تعوضهم أو يبقى دوره أكثر قربا إلى الحياة العملية.
The benefits of moving the services to community-based are many. Most important was it de-stigmatized mental illness. Patients were not referred to as mentally ill. They were people with psychological needs. With the GP, we will refer them to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a mental health nurse. There will be prioritization, so there will be no stigma, and they will be in the community like normal people attending day hospitals, daycare, again run by a psychiatrist with a team. So this was the major impact. In today, one patient once told me, "Oh, Dr. Qurashi, I'm not mental. The world has been cruel to me. They have pushed me. My wife left me with children. I'm broken, but I'm not mental." So they really began to turn the word mental itself as being having suffered catastrophes rather than having something wrong with the brain.
كان التغير اللي حصل دوت أدى إلى مفعول قوي في إنه الناس زي ما قلت برضه الأول حتة الإحساس بالعار إنه مريض ورايح لدكتور نفسية أو رايح لمستشفى أمراض نفسية وجاي من دكتور نفسية، لا، ابتدى المريض يبقى حاسس بالاطمئنان وهو داخل في وحدة الرعاية النفسية المجتمعية داخل المجتمع، عنده مشاكل نفسية، حياته فيها أزمات، الأخصائي الاجتماعي بيقعد معاه يعني تكامل. فحتى المريض ابتدى يقول يا جماعة أنا ما عنديش حالة عقلية، أنا عندي مشكلات نفسية، فده بيهون عليه وبيخليه يبقى أكثر قبولا لأنه يبقى موجود أو يروح في أي وقت لهذه المراكز.
But the downside was when these new centers opened away from the asylums, there was huge demand and newer players came into offering. I remember when I started my training, there was only one psychologist serving a population of nearly 50,000 people. But now, alhamdulillah, in Britain, we have a psychologist for every 1,000 population. The number of team building became the sole purpose of this, as you can see here, was to satisfaction, respect, ability to maintain relationship in the family and stay in the community. Further, this facilitates early treatment and rehabilitation was possible because a patient wasn't sent to an asylum or a mental hospital where he normally would spend 6 to 8 months. Now the average stay in a mental hospital or a psychiatric unit is no more than maximum 28 days.
هذا التغيير الكبير عمل عبء جامد لأنه ما كانش في فريق كامل زي ما كنا بنتكلم برضه انه هذا التغيير هيبقى محتاج فرق متدربه وكتيره، فكان واحد اخصائي نفسي لكل 50,000 دلوقتي يبقى واحد لكل 1000 انسان، وده طبعا تطور كبير في الخدمه، واستطاع من كده ان هو يبقى المريض مش محتاج انه يبقى قاعد في المستشفى شهور طويله، ودلوقتي اقصى مده ممكن بيديها المريض في المستشفى 28 يوم بالكثير.
What is the members of the mental health team? We all know that normally it is led by a psychiatrist, community psychiatric nurse, social workers, highly trained psychologists, some of them are neuropsychologists, and occupational therapists normally constitute mental health team.
الفريق العلاج هو من الأطباء النفسيين والأخصائيين النفسيين المدربين تدريب عالي، الأخصائيين الاجتماعيين، الممرضة المدربة على العمل المجتمعي. فأصبحت الأمور والمعالجين بالعمل اللي هو occupational therapist بيدربوا ازاي ان هو يقدر يعيش. وكان في ايرلندا ثيرابيوتيك اندستريال اورجانيزيشن، المريض النفسي ياخد اتوبيس كل يوم يشغل يوديه مصنع يشتغل ويرجع. يعني حتى التطور ده هو اللي هي العلاج بالعمل اصبح جزء من التدريب داخل المجتمع عشان يبقى وظيفته رجعت تاني.
If a patient is admitted under a mental health act, means he can be detained involuntarily without government will have to ensure that after 3 days of admission against his wish, immediate team meeting is set up, then they decide whether this patient should continue for the 28 days period or the patient has the right to appeal. And if he appeals against the decision of a psychiatrist and a social worker, immediately a board is convened which is supervised by normally a retired judge. The decision of that board in which the psychiatrist presents his report is binding. The patient can be released in the community with the team or he is allowed to stay through 28 days.
القانون بيقول انه المريض لما يخش المستشفى ضد رغبته خلال 3 أيام لازم يكون في تقرير من جهة رقابية لا تتبع إلى المستشفى وتجيز حجزه ضد إرادته لمدة 28 يوم. احنا عندنا في مصر 48 ساعة لازم المركز المستشفى تبلغ ان عندها مريض احتجز، وخلال 48 ساعة أخرى لازم الفريق العمل يجي يكشف عنه. لو انه المريض معترض بيقدم اعتراض رسمي للجهات المختصة ويجي فريق من طبيب نفسي برضه مستقل واخصائي اجتماعي عشان يدرسوا حالته، ولو شاف ان هو من حق محتاج للوجود يستمر 28 يوم لغايه لما الفريق يجي مره اخرى، وده تقريبا نفس اللي موجود في مصر.
This slide is self-explanatory. You can see psychiatrist has a role and each member of the team, community psychiatric nurse, occupational therapist. In fact, the first person, when a patient is admitted, the first person to see that other than a doctor and his junior is occupational therapist. Because the patient has come dysfunctional, he doesn't know how to bathe, how to cook, so we need to start working on the patient immediately. Then comes in psychologist, social worker to take care of his social needs, what happens, his housing benefits. Then care coordinator is assigned. A care coordinator is a key person. We also call it mental health advocate because he talks on behalf of patient. He can come to the meetings and says, my patient feels he is not getting this, not getting that. So he is like a patient advocate. Then there is a dietitian involved, especially patients who are on depot injection, especially olanzapine, which can cause weight gain. Immediately they are put on a diet and it shows that we are concerned about what we give to the patient to settle him down, especially in episodes like acute psychosis and mania. We need to start this teamwork immediately.
فريق العمل بيتكون من طبيب نفسي وهو أول ما بيشوف المريض بيبقى في برضه أخصائي الممرضة المتدربة على الخدمة النفسية المجتمعية، بيبقى في تاني واحد بيشوف المريض بعد الطبيب المدرب المهني اللي بيساعده انه يحتفظ بوظيفته او يشوف تاريخه في الوظيفة وأداؤه إيه عشان برضه يحضروا يديله خدمة يقدر إن هو يكمل الوظيفة بتاعته مرة تانية. في الأخصائي النفسي المدرب على كل التخصصات الموجودة، والأخصائي الاجتماعي للدرس لأنه يدرس الأسرة والمشاكل الاجتماعية المحيطة في العمل أو في المجتمع المحيط. ثم واحد بيبقى مسؤول انه يوصل رأي المريض للفريق المعالج اللي عنده شكوى، حاسس بمشكلة إضافية، شايف انه في حاجة مش مظبوطة. ايضا مسؤول تغذية، ومسؤول تغذية دي نقطة بغاية الأهمية، لأنه بعض المرضى بعض الأدوية بتزود الوزن بطريقة سريعة جدا، يعني المريض ياخد يبقى رفيع كده بعد أسبوع يبقى تخن كده، فده بيحافظ على إنه الدواء ما يؤديش الأداء بتاعه السلبي.
Next one. Now, I'm coming to the end now. How is community care delivered? There is a patient and his relations are given a written package as a called care program approach. It is used as an organized framework to deliver a host of social care, medical treatment and psychological therapies after reviewing the patient's range of needs. And this is done within a week of the patient's admission, especially if they are on a section. This care program has to be done ASAP, as soon as possible.
هناك البرنامج العلاجي اللي بيعطى او بيوضع للمريض من اول ما بيخش، وهو بيبقى عارفه والكل بيشتغلوا عليه، وفي نفس الوقت بيشمل العلاجات بتاعته والبرنامج الدوائي والعلاقات الاجتماعيه المحتاجه تتصلح وهكذا.
Alcohol and drug abuse, as you know, is a worldwide problem, and I'm truly grateful that under the leadership of Dr. Al-Azhaim, this is receiving, and other colleagues, due attention in Cairo and beyond. This problem is much more rampant in UK. There, the society is going through a transition from faith-based, family-based unit to, like we hear so many things. I don't want to use the word Me Too in the sense it is used today, but everybody is individualized. They are seeking new pleasures, new recreational drugs, and they are sometimes think that they are harmless, especially in the discos and the parties of the clubs. That is becoming a big problem for us in UK. And there are people making a lot of profits from selling drugs, even in schools. They recently arrested a man who was using 10, 11-year-old boys and girls to bring drugs into school. So this is a big problem for us. So how to cater for this is a big problem. I don't think we have found the answer yet. But there are teams, community care teams, providing a specialist substance misuse intervention for individuals. Not only for family, they go into schools, they educate. They are always looking for anybody to invite them to give a talk in a club anywhere. Community care model is approach to prevent problem behavior caused by. So there is another group called CTC, Community That Care. Is always anybody can ring and ask, look, I'm a teacher, I need some help. One of the boys came to the class, but he was either aggressive or he was sleepy. So that person is immediately taken up by CTC, and whatever is package done is done so immediately.
مشكلة المخدرات في كل دول العالم خطيرة. في إنجلترا أخذت عمق كبير، ويمكن من ضمن الحاجات يعني إن خرجت من نطاق الصحة، وده اللي عمل المشكلة والفجوة الكبرى، لأن طول ما هي في نطاق الصحة بيبقى فيه تطور، لكن عندهم المشكلة بقت إنه حتى أطفال من المدرسة بيخشوا يعني يبيعوا مخدرات داخل المدرسة. عندهم الفرق اللي هي فرق الرعاية المجتمعية، لما المدرس مثلا بيبقى عنده طالب داخل متنرفز جامد واضح انه بياخد مخدرات او على طول نايم في الفصل، بيستعين بيهم وهما بياخدوه وبيحاولوا يعملوا كل الخدمة المطلوبة. ويعني I think in UK the care for alcohol addiction is not as.
Yes, I was coming to that point. Alcohol and substance abuse services have become In my opinion, personally, not as they were 10 years ago. Because alcohol is used as a recreational substance and drugs. So government doesn't use the mental health model. They don't regard that as an illness. They regard it as a social ill. That is a problem. Because alcoholics sometimes will be on the road, getting drunk, falling on the road. So this is a negative side. While there is a lot to be said about the government initiatives in giving them, but there are very, very few detox centers in the country, which is very, very sad. Because they think, oh, let the nurse go and see him at home, detox them at home, we give them substance abuse, withdrawal treatment, like, the drugs which stop the craving, antabuse, and of course, Depakote. But treatment of these patients in community is very, to me, unsatisfactory. They require a safe environment where they go for rehab and detox. Unfortunately, that is going in a private sector where somebody said a joke that if a person is alcoholic or drug addict, goes to a private clinic, the cost of a private clinic is $700 a day. A day. How many alcoholics have that much money?
مما لا شك فيه انه في انجلترا النموذج بتاع الخدمه الصحيه النفسيه حجب عن قضيه تعاطي المخدرات، خاصه عندهم الخمور دي اكبر حاجه، اعتبروها نوع من انواع الاضطراب الاجتماعي وليس المرض الجسدي. فتدهورت الخدمه لذلك واصبحت مشكله من اكبر المشاكل في انجلترا. ويقال انه المريض عشان محتاج يروح العياده، لان العلاج كله بقى خاص، عشان يروح في عياده محتاج ل $700 في اليوم. مين معاه $700 في اليوم؟ والادويه اللي هي مضاده للمخدرات اصبحت بتشكل مشكله. يمكن الميثادون كدواء في طوابير بتقف قدام الميثادون، عيادات الميثادون، وبياخد ويبيع. يعني مش بياخد عشان يتعالج، هو بياخد بس عشان يبيع وياخد المخدرات بتاعته. واحنا الحقيقه في مصر عندنا مقاومه شديده لوجود الميثادون.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful for my host, Dr. العزايم. I hope this dialogue is continued. I'm hoping to organize this meeting under your supervision in London, inshallah, next year. I hope as many of you as can come, so that we also learn about Egyptian mental health services model. As much as we teach you, we want to learn from you.
Thank you.